Real connection doesn't require chasing, it recognizes resonance. It's something we feel deep in our bones, in that quiet moment when we stop trying so hard and simply allow ourselves to be seen. There's a rhythm to real connection, a kind of invisible frequency that doesn't need constant tending or proving to stay alive. It hums softly in the background of our lives, waiting for the right moment to come to the surface, not forced, not demanded, but allowed. In a world that glorifies the hustle for success, for attention, for love, we've learned to associate effort with value. We think if we try hard enough, show up in just the right way, say the right words at the right time, we'll earn connection. But true connection is not transactional. It's not built on how much you give or how loudly you scream your worth. It's built on presence, truth, and resonance, that unshakable sense that someone gets you. Not because you've twisted yourself into a version they can love, but because they recognize the truth of who you already are. Resonance can't be faked. It's what happens when someone's presence makes you feel more like yourself, not less. When you don't feel the need to shrink, edit, or hide. When silence isn't awkward but peaceful, and laughter is effortless. It's that moment when your guard drops, not because you decided to let it down, but because it just wasn't needed anymore. The space between you and another person feels safe, not because you were promised it would be, but because everything in your body says. When we chase, we often chase a feeling we're trying to recreate, the echo of something we once felt or imagined. But in the chasing, we can miss the very thing we long for. We might end up clinging to people who don't truly see us, trying to mold connection instead of discovering it. We settle for attention when what we really crave is attunement. We trade resonance for recognition, hoping someone's notice will be enough to quiet our hunger. But the truth is, we don't have to earn the right to be on someone's heart. The ones who hold us there don't do it out of obligation or because we performed well enough to be worthy. They do it because something in us spoke to something in them. Not always loudly, but clearly. That's what resonance is. It's subtle, like the way a song can stir emotion without words. It doesn't beg, it doesn't demand, it simply is. There's a deep trust required in letting go of the chase. It means surrendering the idea that we have control over the timing or the outcome. It means believing that if you are on someone's heart, they will find their way to you in time, not because you pushed, but because they felt the pull. And if they don't, then maybe the resonance you felt was meant only for your own awakening, not to tether you to someone else, but to bring you closer to yourself. This is not passive, it's brave. It takes courage to wait, to not reach out again and again, hoping for scraps of attention. It takes strength to stay rooted in your own truth, to believe that you are already enough, and that love meant for you will recognize you without needing to be chased down. It takes resilience to know that being on someone's heart is not a performance, but a presence. It's something that either is or isn't. So if you're in the in-between, or if you're sitting in the silence wondering if you're on someone's heart, let this be your reminder. Resonance doesn't rush. It doesn't come with urgency or anxiety. It arrives softly, steadily, when it's time. Trust that if the connection is true, you will not have to run after it. It will recognize you. It will reach for you. And in that moment, you'll know that all the stillness, all the waiting, was never empty. It was sacred. Being on someone's heart is sacred, not always loud, but always real. There's a quiet reverence in knowing you occupy space in someone's inner world, even when you're not right in front of them. It isn't always about constant communication, dramatic declarations, or big gestures. Sometimes it's as subtle as a passing thought in the middle of their busy day. A soft prayer they say before they sleep. or the way your name comes to mind when they hear a certain song. It's not flashy, but it's real, rooted in something deeper than visibility. We live in a time where presence is often measured by activity. Who's texting back fast, who's showing up online, who's saying the right thing at the right time. But real love, real care, it doesn't always live in the seen. It thrives in the unseen, in the moments you don't even realize are happening. The person who thinks of you and smiles, who sends good energy your way without telling you, who checks your favorite restaurant's menu just in case you ever go there together. That's sacred, and yet so many of us overlook it because it doesn't come wrapped in immediate attention. The sacred nature of being on someone's heart lies in the way it's held, gently, without possession. It's not about claiming or controlling someone. It's about keeping a part of them with you in a way that honors both of your paths. It's about rooting for someone from a distance if that's what's needed. It's about caring enough to step back if closeness isn't possible or right. There is love in that too. A deep, unselfish kind of love that says, even if we don't talk every day, you matter to me. That's real. That's rare. Sometimes people hold us quietly because they don't know how to say it, or because they're navigating their own emotions. Maybe their love language isn't words. Maybe they're afraid. Maybe they're simply not ready to show up the way they wish they could. And still, there you are on their heart. Just because someone isn't loud about it doesn't mean it isn't real. Still waters run deep, and some of the most profound love lives in stillness. It can be hard to trust in that kind of love. We're conditioned to want proof, something tangible we can point to and say, see, this means I matter. But sometimes the evidence is not in the grand display. It's in the consistency of their quiet presence. It's in the way they haven't let go of you in their spirit, even if time or circumstance has created distance. You might be surprised to know the number of people who still think of you, still carry your name in their prayers, still hope you're okay. Just because they're not loud doesn't mean you've been forgotten. There's something holy about being on someone's heart in that way. It's not about ego, it's not about attention, it's about energy. It's about connection that goes beyond the surface, that doesn't need to be constantly validated to be real. And it's about trust, trusting that the people meant to carry us will in their own way and in their own time. And when someone finally reaches out after a long pause, you'll feel that sacred thread that never really broke. It didn't vanish, it just went quiet for a while. Being on someone's heart also invites us to consider who we hold in ours. Who do we carry with us even when the world moves fast and things feel chaotic? Whose name comes up in unexpected moments, soft and uninvited, but welcome. That's how you know the connection is real. You feel it without having to force it. You hold them in your heart not because you should, but because they're simply there. That's sacred. In the end, love isn't always fireworks. Sometimes it's just the quiet presence of someone who never quite leaves your heart, even if they're not in your life the way they used to be. Sometimes it's the message that arrives after months of silence, not because someone felt guilty, but because they felt you, because they always have. So if you're wondering whether someone still holds you close, maybe they do. Maybe you're still with them in all the ways that count. Not loudly, not publicly, but truly. And maybe that's enough for now. Maybe that's the kind of love that doesn't need a spotlight to be real. It just needs to be felt. You are not hard to love. You are just waiting for love that recognizes your depth. That truth can be hard to hold on to in a world that often makes us feel like we're too much or not enough, too emotional, too quiet, too intense, too complicated, too slow to open, too quick to feel. We start to internalize the idea that our way of loving, of being is somehow flawed, that the love we're seeking is out of reach because we ourselves are unreachable, that that's not the truth. The truth is the love you're meant for won't ask you to shrink. It won't skim the surface of who you are. It will see you, all of you, and stay. Sometimes the ache of being unseen can twist into shame. We begin to believe that being alone means we're unlovable. But solitude is not evidence of your unworthiness. It's often the space where your truest self is quietly preparing to be met. The pain of being misunderstood doesn't mean you're too complex. It just means you haven't yet been received by someone with the capacity and courage to meet you at your depth. The right love won't feel like drowning in effort. It will feel like coming up for air. There are people who are drawn to the light parts of us, the parts that smile easily, that offer comfort, that show up and give and give. But depth means carrying more than just light. It means carrying questions, wounds, longings, dreams that don't fit neatly into small talk. And not everyone is ready for that. Not everyone is built to hold space for it. That doesn't make your depth a burden. It makes it sacred. It makes it something not everyone can reach. And that's okay. Be more interested in meeting someone else's needs than meeting our own needs. It's easy to fall into the trap of trying to be more palatable. We soften our edges, downplay our feelings, make ourselves smaller so we can fit into someone else's comfort zone. But the more we hide, the lonelier we become, even when we're not alone. True loneliness isn't about the absence of people, it's about the absence of connection. And no connection can truly exist when we're pretending to be someone we're not. You are not too much. Your feelings are not too big. Your standards are not too high. Wanting to be seen deeply, loved gently, and held consistently is not unreasonable. It's human. You're just waiting for someone who sees you not as a puzzle to solve or a challenge to conquer, but as a wonder to explore. Someone who hears you speak and doesn't just listen to your words, but listens to the silences between them. Someone who doesn't rush to fix you, but instead sits with you, knowing that presence is more healing than any solution. This kind of love, the kind that recognizes your depth, may not come quickly, and that's okay. Deep love, like deep roots, takes time. It grows quietly, sometimes invisibly, until one day it blooms in a way that makes sense of every season you spent feeling unseen. And when it arrives, it won't be loud. It won't feel like chaos or confusion. It will feel like clarity, like exhale, like home. Till then, let your depth be your guide, not your shame. Let it be the reason you keep your standards, not the excuse to lower them. Let it remind you that you are worth the time it takes for someone to learn the language of your soul, because the right person won't need you to translate who you are into something more digestible. They'll sit down and learn your native tongue. You are not hard to love. You are just not for the faint of heart. You are for the brave, the honest, the grounded. You are for the one who looks at your depth not as something to endure, but as something to treasure. And when they find you, it won't be because you made yourself smaller to be chosen. It'll be because you stayed true to who you are, and someone recognized you there. Trust a quiet space between people. It's where true hearts are revealed. We often rush to fill silence, to smooth out the stillness with words, explanations, gestures, anything that makes us feel less exposed. But there is something sacred about the quiet, something honest that can't be found in the noise. In the space between conversations, between texts, between meetings and messages, that's where realness often lives. Not everything meaningful is loud. Not every connection needs constant expression to be alive. The quiet can feel uncomfortable, even threatening, especially if we've been conditioned to believe that love must always look like constant attention, reassurance, or pursuit. We start to question what silence means. Does it signal indifference, distance, a drifting away? But the truth is, not all space is absence. Some space is full of thought, full of feeling, full of the process of becoming. Just because someone isn't saying something doesn't mean they're not feeling something. Just because they're not reaching out in every moment doesn't mean they've stopped caring. Some hearts speak more honestly in quiet than in noise. When we're brave enough to not rush into filling every gap, we begin to notice what's underneath. We see who leans in with their energy, even if not with their words. We see who continues to hold us gently and without pressure when the conversation pauses. That's when authenticity emerges. That's when we find out if someone is really here for the long story, not just the highlight reel. Can they sit with the pauses? Can they be still and stay? Quiet space asks us to trust, not just others, but ourselves. To trust our intuition, to trust our worth, to trust the connection we feel even when it isn't being constantly affirmed. It's where we learn that we don't have to chase love to keep it. If a connection is real, it will hold through the stillness. If someone truly cares, they will make their way back without needing to be pushed. If someone truly sees you, they will still feel you in the silence. It is space between people. It's where we are tested and where we grow. It's where longing lives, yes, but also where clarity forms. It's where we find out if we're just addicted to attention or actually anchored in connection. Can we sit in the quiet without panicking? Can we resist the urge to fill it with assumptions, with stories that cast ourselves as not enough or too much? Because that's what fear does. It writes narratives in the silence. But love waits, love listens. There's something deeply loving about not forcing presence, about trusting that the right people will show up in the right moments, about allowing others to move through their own timing without demanding constant performance. In the same way that a tree doesn't rush its bloom, true connection doesn't rush its becoming. There are people who need time, space, breath, not because they love you less, but because they love with intention, because they don't want to bring you half of themselves. And sometimes you're the one who needs the space. Sometimes the quiet is your own. A pause not to pull away, but to come closer to your truth. We shouldn't feel guilty for needing space. We should honor it. Because the people who really care about us won't be threatened by our silence. They'll understand that space is not a rejection, but a reset, a return to ourselves so that we can return to each other more whole. When we stop fearing the quiet, we start hearing what's real. We begin to notice who remains steady, even when things are unspoken. We notice the energy that lingers, the tenderness that holds, the respect that stays intact. We begin to trust the slow rhythm of true connection. A rhythm that doesn't demand but invites, that doesn't rush but resonates. So trust the quiet space between people. It's not empty, it's not a void, it's a vessel. For truth, for becoming, for clarity. It's where masks fall away and where hearts that are meant to find each other do. Maybe not loudly, maybe not quickly, but always, always, truly.